here we are. Welcome in. Thank you for joining us for Morning Journal session number 211. Morning Journal, we do it live every Monday through Friday at 6 a.m. Eastern time. So I know if you're live right now and you popped in, it's like, well, it's not 6 o'clock. I know. The 6 o'clock thing starts in the VIP. We have a little bit of a warm up to get things going, kind of behind the scenes with a bunch of cool folks who are over in that section. If you want to figure out how to get there, if you know, you know. The links are on the screen right now. If you're listening, they will also be in the show notes. So yeah, I hope that you are enjoying your day, and I hope that you enjoy this experience. If it's your first time listening over on Apple or Spotify or Google or all the places where you find your podcast, it might be a little bit of a different vibe than what you're used to in podcasts, which is cool because we need a little bit of variety. But hang out with us, and if it's something that you enjoy, the interaction with the live audience that you get to listen in with, go ahead and subscribe and catch us every day, every morning. So we're going to get into a conversation. Today's conversation, I don't know, we're going to be talking about our disciplines, the things that we make, and the work that we do to overcome the challenges that go around sort of living a creative life. So the first prompt that you see on the screen is where we're going to start our conversation. I'm going to open up the request box for the folks in the VIP and simply answer the question. We're going to be answering the question, what are you making? What are you making? Now, I know we're not just making one thing, you know. We have a lot of different things that we might be investing our time and energy into creating. So if you're answering in the request box and there's more than one thing, don't elaborate too much. Make a little list to give us an idea of the variety of things that you have going on, whether it's professionally, in your relationships, in your creative practice that you do for yourself, the way that you're developing yourself. There's a lot of things that we are making. So we'll start the conversation there. We got Cyber Shots listening in over on YouTube. It's good to see you this morning, Cyber Shots. What are you making? And I think one of the most important things, and sort of the primary thing that most of us make hopefully on a pretty consistent basis, is decisions. If nothing else, we're making decisions, right? We're being varying degrees and varying levels of intentional when it comes to what we have going on in our life. So what are you making? Kaloli is here. Welcome in. It's good to see you this morning. What are you making? So Alexis says, I am writing a novel still. Yeah. Named The Search for the Jade Locket. I'm also doing scratch art and making a healthier me. Gibby is here. Welcome in. It's good to see you this morning, Gibby. The question, what are you making? And the answer is, for someone anonymously shares that I'm making history with language professionally and personally, writing. Okay. I'm making history with language professionally and personally with writing. My job is a part of a national network. Plus I have great connections. Well, there you go. It's nice to be connected. It's nice to have the means to get your work out in front of the world. love that. That's my quota for today. I've just spent my I love that quota, because I know I say that a lot, but I do. I genuinely do. I genuinely do. So Gibby right now is making a bowl of cereal. Breakfast, an important meal in the day. I love how, some people say breakfast is the most important meal. I don't know, maybe. It's one of them. It's one of them. Noble Ancient says that I am making entertainment for others to enjoy through the games I designed, and an opportunity for those that wish to work with me. I'm also making my skills stronger to match. So building skills, creating. Alexis says, yo, I had ribs for breakfast, fam. Ribs and boneless chicken for breakfast. Hey, I guess, however you need to do it. However you need to do it. So someone anonymously says that I'm making a fool of myself. I'm making a fool of myself. Sometimes being foolish is not necessarily a bad thing. It means that you are trying something that might not work. We have to be willing to risk the possibility that we look crazy if we're going to be trying something new. Because it kind of inherently, when you're doing things that you haven't done before, it might not work. You might look crazy. But it's okay. You can always get up and keep going. Try again. We need people that have the courage to do that. That's the only way that we can grow, is by being willing to make a fool of yourself. Take that risk, right, Kaloli? Welcome in, Templar King. It's good to see you this morning. The question at hand is, what are you making? So Savvy says that I'm making an evolved me, candles, moss art, new plant life, a new day to be closer to my future self. That's beautiful, Savvy. Yeah, make your day, right? I know it shows up, but you make it what it can be with the choices that you make and the way that you commit to showing up. So I love all of the creative projects that you are engaged in. I think when you're talking about making yourself an evolved self, I think that's a fruit of your decisions, right? You make a decision and then the decision makes you. It can be a virtuous cycle, or it can be a destructive spiral. You make decisions and then decisions make you. Templar King, thank you so much for the like. I appreciate it. We're talking about what you are making. If you would like to answer, just drop your reply in the request box. Noble says, I'm making plans for a second stream for Wednesday. So we know Noble streams, typically Gamer Shop is on Tuesday evening at 6 p.m. Eastern time. Noble is looking to expand his streaming schedule so he can, maybe reach more people, explore some more ideas. That's exciting. That's exciting. So let us know if you're watching, and if you're watching on another platform, you can always answer these prompts in the chat. I can see those. So let's see, what else do we have? What are we up to? Everybody take a second to notice your breath and take a deep breath. I Sometimes when I midstream, like while I'm in the middle of a thought, I remind myself to take a breath. Savvy's going to go back to sleep. I'm glad that you enjoyed. Savvy, also, you can come back and listen to the recording, so you can also check us out on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. We publish these conversations there. There's a lot of places where you can enjoy this experience if you're not able to be here live all the time. Noble says, I'm going to tell stories that arise in my head. It'll be called Storytell. Alexa says, I'm making myself nervous over my interview on Thursday. I wonder how you're doing that. What are some of the ways that you are making yourself nervous, making yourself less comfortable with the situation? Maybe through the thoughts that you are clinging to, or the expectations, or the stakes that you feel are attached to the event. And also, maybe being nervous is not a bad thing. You know, sometimes that's the appropriate response to a situation that's important. You can use that sort of energized state, because nervousness is really, it's just energy. It's additional energy that you can feel. It's only bad based on what story you tell yourself about what that energy means. So maybe it's going to make you more prepared, more engaged than you would be otherwise. So SOK has answered in a very cryptic way. I'm going to read it as it is, and then I'm going to see if I can translate it into what she might have meant. Maybe I don't yet, but it happened. So that might mean any number of things. Maybe I don't know yet. I don't know. Maybe you can clear that one up for us, SO. I did the best I could. I don't want to misinterpret your intent. It's like, oh no, never mind. Oh man, I'm not making it happen. Okay. I don't know yet, but I'm not making it happen. I got it. Oh, I don't. Okay, I'm just gonna let that go. Nicholas and B are here. Welcome in. Thank you for being here this morning. What are you making is the question. And the Templar King has an answer. Says, I'm following and creating my ideal perfect morning, because why not place my energy in a positive light instead of a negative one? Yeah, why not? Why not figure out how you can start your day in such a way that it gives you some positive energy and momentum rather than being down in the dumps? Seems like a pretty good strategy and a worthwhile thing to work on, to calibrate. Berlin is here. Welcome in, Berlin. It's good to see you this morning. Hope you're doing well. Let us know what you're making. There's some things that we can invest our time and creative energy to that is worthwhile. So we're doing great, Berlin. It's good to see you this morning. I hope you're doing well too. We are taking our breaths. We are thinking about what we're making. We'll give a couple more minutes with this one. Let's see, where we at? Hey, Basement, welcome in. It's good to see you. If we're good to go, if you've answered or you feel ready to move to the next prompt, you can drop a heart in the chat and we can ease in that direction. Miss says, I wish we could make more time. Making time. That's a phrase that we use. It's sort of like a saying, you want to make time for this or make time for that. In reality, we can't make time. The time is what it is. I think the thing that we can make with relationship to time or in relationship to time is decisions. We can make decisions. You can't make more time, but you can make decisions. And what decisions do is they carve the time that is available into, different chunks. You can direct your attention as it relates to time, and that's going to change your experience of the time. That's the part that you can do, the way that we direct our attention. Because it's a very fluid concept. I'm glad that I saw glad in the chat, and then that's not what I meant to say. But I am glad that time is such a fluid thing where, depending on what you're doing, your experience of the way it passes can be dramatically different. Sometimes it zooms by, sometimes it's, it crawls by. Basement says, we can set aside time for our lives. It just sucks when you're the only one taking that seriously. I guess it can be a little bit stressful to feel isolated, or feel like you're the only one in, taking a particular course of action or engaging in a mindset that's around you. But, if it's worthwhile, just kind of had to try to stick with it, ride with it, and then see to what degree you can build a new set of connections. It might be that you need new people around you who are on the same page, who are equally engaged in this possibility, the possibilities that you are pursuing as well. So, yeah. Okay. Drop me some hearts in the chat if we are ready to move to the next prompt. Said GB rhyming inadvertently. I don't even know what the rhyme was, so I guess it is inadvertent because I didn't notice it. Just casual bars a little bit. Okay, we're gonna get ready to go to the next prompt. Thank you so much. With the next prompt, I think what we wanna do is kind of zoom out just a little bit. I think there are things that we're making on a day-to-day basis, and we can get really kind of honed and zeroed in and focused in on the task that is in front of us, and that is sort of that is the way we have to live. And sometimes it's necessary to zoom out just a little bit to have some sort of idea of how these pieces are fitting together. I feel like I might have had a little bit of a glitch in my connection. Let me know if y'all can still hear me. Something flashed over here, so give me a thumbs up if you can still hear me and everything is okay. Okay, I see thumbs, good. All right. So I was saying that sometimes it's necessary to zoom out and see how all of these pieces might fit together. Not that we can control and operate effectively in anything that's not in our present experience, but we have the ability to chart a course for ourselves. It might not work out exactly the right way, but it's good to have a vision of where you want to go with what it is that you're creating. And it's useful to commit to that vision because in doing so, in making a commitment, it kind of simplifies your decisions, you know? Simplify, I was going Marines on you. It simplifies your decisions when you've already have a commitment in place. It's like, oh, okay. It's easy to figure out what to do in this situation. In light of this commitment that I've already made, the decision that's in front of me is kind of by default also made. So I don't have to deliberate. All I have to do is kind of surrender to or honor the commitment that I've made already. Alberto's through security, gonna have a drink and patiently wait to board. A drink? What we drinking, some orange juice this morning? Oh man, where you getting a drink at? Templar King, thank you so much for the likes. I appreciate it. I love the boost. It's like, this is Chicago, baby. I can get a drink anytime, baby. Aunt Capone's in the building over on YouTube. We're talking about the visions that we have committed to. You know, is there a way that we see our future that informs the way that we are showing up right now? What is the commitment? What is the vision that we've made the commitment to? So Miss says, I am dedicated to collective liberation. Everything in my life supports that goal. My vision opens doors and windows for me. Both doors and windows. Yeah, it's good to have both open because sometimes you need a way to enter and sometimes you just need some air and light. So doors and windows open by the vision that you have committed to. Basement says, I'm just learning how to survive 1 week at a time, keeping my head above water. One day I'll surf those waves. So you're committed to survival. I mean, I think that is the foundational commitment. Well, I'm committed to be here as long as I can. That's a start. That's a start. I think the nature of things is, you know, every step that we take can bring us, we get to see just a little bit further, you know? If you keep taking the steps, eventually you'll be able to see a little bit further. Every step you take, every breath you make. Yeah. Eyes gonna be watching you. Yeah. So Noble Ancient says, the vision I am sincerely committed to is Armistice Games and my relationship with Alexis 2. My passion is twofold. Twofold as opposed to fold. The commitment that Aunt Capone is, the vision for Aunt Capone is having a better 40th year. It was Aunt Capone's birthday this weekend. I know that you made some, I guess, resolutions. I guess it would qualify as a resolution to make a few changes in your life that'll enhance the quality of your health and relationships and any number of things. So I'm excited for that journey to see where it takes you. Miss says, I don't want to tell people's life here. I just see vision as a very personal thing. It is. It is. And there are some things that none of our business. A lot of times I pose these questions, and it's nice to share in a community of supportive folks. And sometimes it's just worth like raising the question in your own mind, reflecting quietly, asking yourself that question. Maybe you've never thought about it in that way. So in asking that question in that way, it might, spark a few ideas for you. So Alexa says to get a job until such time that Armistice Games is up and running so that Noble and I can quit our jobs and work AG full time. So yeah, making a commitment to create, some security, maybe a little bit of peace of mind. I know it's going to take some time away from what you have, but it might give you a little bit of enough security so that you can proceed with things in a more relaxed way. Miss, I know I mentioned that I stream barefooted, but my toes are not stepped on. No need to apologize. So SOK says, I'm testing something new towards the vision of a less emotionally stressful future for myself. So you're kind of working on it, huh? You're kind of evaluating. Maybe you've already started down a particular path and you're recognizing some challenges or some things maybe that you hadn't considered. And now it's like, well, let me test a couple things out. I think that it is, our vision evolves, just like I was saying before. As you take a step, the next step becomes a little more apparent to you. But I guess the most important thing is getting out of your head about it and actually demonstrating your commitment through action. Because we could talk about it all day, The real proof of your commitment shows up in the decisions that you make day to day, the things that you choose to do. And yeah, so saying it is one thing, and it's an important first step to declare to yourself and clarify in your mind what your vision is. But just like when you're moving in the real world through space, every step you take in a direction reveals, the horizon a little more clearly. But you don't get that clarity just in thinking. You get it in moving towards something. So, yeah. If we're ready to kind of go a little bit deeper into the conversation, go ahead and drop a heart in the chat and we can get ready to go to the next one, go to the next round. Again, thank you so much for your engagement and, all your insights and sharing what it is that you are committing to. It takes a little bit of courage to say it out loud sometimes amongst other people, but I appreciate your courage and bravery in declaring those things for us here. So if you're ready, go ahead and drop me a heart in the chat and we can jump to the next prompt. All right. Here we go. So, so one of the things that help to make a vision real is being able to break it down into kind of meaningful milestones, right? It's rare that, you can accomplish or reach a specific vision in one giant leap from where you are to where you want to be. It usually doesn't work that way. It doesn't happen in a snap, in a single step, in a moment. There's usually a process, and usually within that process, there are different milestones along the way that will let you know when you've reached this milestone. You have an opportunity to look at your progress, to adjust your course, to reflect on changes that you need to make or things that you need to learn to realize the vision. Or maybe you reach a milestone and, like in Esso's case, you recognize that you need to experiment and tweak the vision a little bit based on what you've learned as you've gone along the way. So we're going to talk about milestones. If you're looking at the big picture of what it is you're trying to create, what are some of the milestones that show up along the way? And while you're thinking about that, go ahead and drop some green hearts in the chat for Aretha, who is up and listening and watching. It's good to have you here this morning. Esso says, man, these are some good prompts. They're waking me up. Well, it's nice to be awake, to think about things that you need to think about. All right. Which milestones are most meaningful? Uh-oh. All right. I know we had a little bit of a connection issue. Are we back? Milestones. Give me a thumbs up if we are back. Okay, good. I don't know what's going on this morning. Okay, good. So here we are. Basement. At first, I thought that basement was listing the milestones. But then I see the way that you qualified it. Money, women, status, none of that matters as much to me as leaving my mark on this world. I want to create a beautiful piece of art that people can enjoy even when I'm gone. So yeah, money, women, status, that don't matter as much. It matters. I'm going to read it properly now. It doesn't matter as much. It matters, but it doesn't matter as much. So, because I'm reading your words exactly. So it's leaving a mark, and then money, status, and women in that order, maybe. I don't know. Something like that. So Alberto's got jokes. He's like, still in that Walmart Wi-Fi, bro. You got to do better. Listen, I'm streaming to multiple platforms. Like, it's fair. I'm putting a lot of work, a lot of weight on my system right now. It's a heavy lift. But yeah, Basement, I see you. I see what you said. I mean, they don't matter as much, but apparently they do matter to some degree. Would you say that's fair? That list includes things that do matter? Mm. So we're talking about milestones. Rephrase the question. Which milestones are most meaningful to you? How can I say that? What's a different way of saying it? As you envision, as it relates to your vision, there are some ways, there are some points along the way. There are kind of chunks of work and progress that are kind of implied in getting you where it is that you're trying to go. So, oh my goodness. So what are some of those intermediate steps? Because I think that as you kind of plan your actions and make your decisions, even though you're keeping that larger vision in mind, your immediate plans and the things that you do on a day-to-day basis probably are related to intermediate milestones along the way. Okay. I hope that clears it up a little bit for you. So, Noble Ancient says that learning that I have to hand scratch, create games before I can perfect them. I realized this on my way home earlier. So that sounds like a breakthrough that Noble's had in the creative process. Esso's asking a very interesting question about milestones. Good morning, Tiger, PFK, thanks for joining us. So you see the importance of milestones, but how do we set them, or do they just appear? It is sort of like checkpoints in the video game. It's if you're thinking about designing your life, you are kind of setting up these points. And it might not play out exactly the way that you plan, but you can set the intention. It is a game, and it's a game that you are kind of choosing and designing along the way. And you get there and you keep your mind open and your expectations open and kind of see what happens. We recognize that we can't control everything, but we just need a direction to aim and some sort of guide to help us make decisions. And that's kind of the way it goes. Maybe like hopscotch, maybe. Yeah, maybe so. So for Alexis, those milestones are doing interviews, getting hired, orientation and training, then Armistice Games making more money, then X dollars in sales will allow us to work there instead. So building an income that is sufficient to take care of yourself and using that number as a milestone to get Armistice Games in sales to replace that income. I like that. That sounds pretty solid. It's pretty solid. So for Miss, 45K a year is the next milestone at work. You want land to farm and writing stories and letting people hear my voice. So setting yourself up in a situation where maybe it creates or facilitates the resources that are required in terms of time and energy, and then leveraging that into and towards your creative work. So Esso brings up an interesting point. You said in that case, I think all milestones are equally meaningful. Yeah, that's true, but you have to decide which one is to get on the board, right? So what you're talking about are the things that you're going to exclude that are not going to be a part of the game. You know, all the ones that you include are meaningful, but you're going to, specify what they are, because there are some things that you can accomplish that do nothing to get you anywhere closer to where you want to go. So yeah, like that. All right, we're talking about those milestones. So Alberto says, taking my company from mid six figures to multi-millions, leaving my children a legacy, and not just money. And last but certainly not least, giving back to causes that I care about, which is my biz. Yeah, make it your business to leave a legacy. I was like, that's a weird word though, milestone. After a mile, a stone. Right. If you is kind of working on the metaphor of a path or a road, and it's like a marker that gives you a sense of how much progress you have made. It's just a means of measurement, right? This is how far I've come from where I started. So Alberto has ambitious aspirations to build significant generational wealth and legacy. So there are a lot of steps that he's already made, and then there are steps ahead. He said, been paying them dues. I could dig it. All right. So I'm really grateful for the conversation that we've been having and clarifying exactly what we mean, and what does it mean to declare a milestone as meaningful, and how can we use how can we use these intermediate steps, these markers, as a way to help us make better decisions with what we are doing with our time each day. Alberto says, we about to get you nationally syndicated, bruh. We're gonna put you on Hot 97, bruh. Yeah, the world needs this, right? I know the world does need this, and we're gonna get it out there to them for sure. Manny B is here. Thank you for joining us. So SOK says, graduating, finding employment, moving out, expanding my wings, and see where that takes me. There you go. He said you're going to see G on the Breakfast Club. I'm going to be up there as the donkey of the day. Oh, man. All right. Meaningful milestones. I mean, the biggest thing is what it helps us do is to create some level of clarity. Yeah. Yeah, he's gonna bring up Mark's Corner. So Alexis is asking about the journals. I'll say a little bit about that during our promo section, which is coming up after we're done with this prompt. But thank you for asking. We'll definitely give you an update on that. Alberta says, I encourage everyone to link Morning Journal. Yeah, send a link to the newsletter. It's a great thing because not everybody can get in here. And if they're on a newsletter, I can get them in here or get them engaged with the experience. So yeah, we'll talk about that. I'm glad that y'all bringing it up. Maybe it's a good time to, well, we're at the top of the hour, so maybe we can get into a little bit of a promo time. Corey Cho, welcome in. Thanks. It's nice to have you here this morning. Hope you're doing well. We are working with the idea of milestones, and please feel free to continue to answer in the request box or in the chat if you are watching live. But let me just say, we're going to do a little bit of Esther's like, how do you sign up for the newsletter? There is, in the notice, there is a link. And the easiest thing for you, Esther, is probably just to use the link that's in my IG bio. That's the link for the newsletter. But yeah, let's do that. I want to create a little bit of a break to make it easy for me to recognize where my ad break is. All right, so Morning Journal. This is session number 211, and we do this live every Monday through Friday at 6 a.m. Eastern Time. If this is your first time here, glad to have you here. Hope it won't be your last time. If you're listening to one of the replays, maybe you're on Spotify or Apple Podcast, and you made it this far into the experience, I'm assuming if you made it this far, you're kind of vibing with us. So go ahead and drop give us a rating, review. Alberta brought up a great point about continuing to expand this experience in different platforms, getting the word out more. And there are a lot of ways that you can help do that if that's what you are inclined to do. We do have a newsletter where we share these prompts, some of the prompts, and a little bit of commentary. So it's a great way to stay connected to all the things that we are going to be publishing and releasing, both in the live format and also other asynchronous content. One of the big projects is the print journal, where we're going to make this experience available as a guided journal experience that you can do at home, including some of the prompts and ways that we kind of check in. So that's a project that on the creative side, we're looking good. There's a couple milestones to bring up the content that we're talking about right now. There's a few milestones that I need to reach in order to launch it successfully. Because you get one chance to kind of launch something. So I want to get my subscriber number up on my newsletter, because I think that's going to be the most effective tool to market it. Already the newsletter is the place where I have the largest reach in terms of folks who hear from me on a regular basis. So my milestone there to launch the journal is to kind of get my numbers right in the newsletter, so that when we let it go, it'll go, But yeah, So subscribing to the newsletter is free, and it's a great way. If you're listening right now, the most important way and the most significant way that you can support the experience is just by doing what you're doing here now. I pose these questions. Sometimes they're kind of thought-provoking, and your willingness to engage with them is what makes this experience what it is. So the number one thing is just to, when you are able to, come in and join in on the conversation to make this experience better for everyone. Of course, other ways to support what we have going on is to, follow us on social media, on Instagram. I do reels with prompts that you can respond to. And, that's another way to kind of get the word out, because you never know who's going to see an Instagram reel and then make their way back to this experience here. So that's another great way to support what we have going on and help us spread the word. And of course, finally, if you are here, if you're in a VIP listening to us live and you are already participating in the Spoon economy. So Spoon, for those who are listening, it is an audio streaming app, and that's sort of where the home base of this experience is. If you're on Spoon, there's ways that you can support directly. You can subscribe. You see folks in the chat with purple rings, the purple gang. As a subscriber, you get some exclusive content. Like we had a subscriber only stream yesterday that was real cool. Kind of hung out, got to know each other. I know a lot of times I don't answer the prompts, but I answer prompts, or I answer the questions that you have for me in those subscriber only experiences. So you can subscribe and get exclusive content. You can give subscriptions to other people, So gifting subscriptions is a thing that supports the show as well. Or you can just drop tips, The Spoons are tips that you can drop to show your appreciation. That's a way that you can support the experience as well. So that's what we have. We're here Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. And I thank everybody for hanging out with me. It's really cool that you would take this time out of your schedule, get up early or stay up late, whatever the case may be, and come in here and vibe with me. I appreciate you. All right. We got a few more responses in the request box before we go to the next prompt. So let me get those. So milestones is what we're talking about. Meaningful milestones. Sabrina, Joy, Nat are here. Basement is here. Back. Cheeseburger is here. Thank you so much. Manny has shared a milestone. 5 years of contributing to my retirement. So not there yet, but almost. So that milestone of securing your financial future, that's valuable. Sabrina Joy, thank you for the like. Queen Gothic, thank you so much for being here. We're going to get ready to go to the next prompt, folks. Yeah, great job with this one. I really appreciate you. All right, next prompt. So we're going to get to the nitty gritty. Talked about the vision. And there's the other side of that. We talked about the milestones. Now we're going to talk about a little bit of what it takes to get there. And that's discipline, right? I think sometimes we might have a love-hate relationship with the idea of discipline. But I think it's worth considering different ways to kind of hold that concept in your mind. Maybe there's a different story you can tell about what discipline means that will help you embrace it a little more freely. So what discipline have you submitted to is the question. And discipline is really a creative force. It really is. Motivation can be a spark, but it tends to not be durable, right? It can give you a little spark, a little bit of energy to get started. Motivation is a motive, a reason. And sometimes when the motive of what it is that you're doing is in the front of your mind, it can give you energy to kind of get yourself going. But to keep yourself going, discipline is required. Sometimes you have to disregard how you feel about what it is that you're doing because your current emotional state is not a good indication of what the best thing for you to do is at the moment, because we could feel all kind of ways. You could feel however you feel and still do what you need to do. And there's going to be a point in your creative life where you have to be able to push through and endure and kind of, I don't know, just kind of suck it up. And, you know, it's going to be like that. It's not going to be all roses. You're not going to always feel like you're able. You're not going to feel up to it. The beautiful thing is, a lot of times when you don't have what you would consider to be motivation, when you do something that really matters, there is kind of motivation that is kind of inherent to the task. Sometimes you have to get started and then it shows up and you can keep going. So when you have the motivation, it's easy to get started. But when you don't have the motivation, you know, you get started and then the motivation shows up in the process. But you have to have the discipline to act in the absence of inspiration and motivation. You can't wait for it. That's what the discipline is. The discipline is showing up, right? And trusting the process. And you have to be willing to do that. What are some of the things that you feel like, in order to get to the place that you need to go, what are some disciplines that you can invite into your experience to make that more likely? There's no guarantees. No matter how disciplined you are, there's no guarantees that it's going to work out the way you hope it will. But maybe you can increase your chances by allowing the creative force that is discipline to be sort of a North Star for you, you know? And when you think about discipline as a creative force, we describe creative work in terms of disciplines, right? If you have a craft that you work on, it's a discipline, an area of study or an area of pursuit where you're dedicating your time and focused energy to master. We call those things disciplines, right? And that's true for a reason, because you have to kind of stick in there with it. You can't be on the whims, exist on the whims of a bad day or a string of bad days or obstacles that will inevitably show up for you. Gotta, you know, and you can do it. That's the thing. You can do it even if you don't feel like you can. Sometimes you can do it. Trust me. And so it's like, oh, in that case. Oh, man. Let's see what we have. Sabrina Joy says, self-discipline in a way of carving out time for expression through art creations, whether that be journaling, coloring, or continuing my self-care routine and changing it up from time to time. So the discipline of making time, of carving out time. We've already determined that we can't make time. All we can do is you can't make time, but you can make decisions, right? And decisions are the way that you carve out time. You can't make space. The space is there. All the space that there is already there. You can't make more space. You know? It's just changing your relationship with the space that is through the decisions that you make. Decision is a weird word because it has that root of side, which means to cut. All right. That side, to cut, to kill. So carving out, that's a good connection and metaphor for the idea of making a decision. A decision is like an incision, a cut. So that's a great discipline to commit to, Sabrina Joy. Thank you for sharing that. So Noble Ancient says the discipline I have submitted to, and I like the quotes around that, is one of work ethic and completing each task before moving on to the next one. When my work is done, then I can relax a little. So yeah, I like that, Noble. Staying focused, not opening up too many loops. The environment is rich with distractions. And sometimes the distractions, the most distracting environment of all can be our own mind and our own racing thoughts and our own ideas that keep swimming around and trying to tug at our attention, trying to convince us that, oh no, come over here and work on this. Never mind that thing that you said you were going to do. Here's a new thing that you can start doing to take up some of your time and energy. Never fails. So having the discipline to finish things and then move on to the next, to stay on task. That creates a tremendous amount of momentum. Finishing things creates a lot of momentum. Starting things doesn't really create momentum. Starting things just creates another channel that your energy can flow to, but it doesn't necessarily create forward momentum. You're getting dissipated. Every new thing you start is, dissipating the force that you can put behind the other things. Alberto, thank you so much for hanging out with us. Have a safe flight. I hope you have a good, productive week. Good morning, Brooklyn. Thank you for joining us. So disciplines that we've submitted to, that's the question in the moment. Miss says, the discipline is ancestral guidance. I'm not going to argue with people Harriet would have shot, and etc. Oh man, that's strong. I'm going to submit to ancestral guidance. Manny B says, the discipline is not only being on time for work at the pharmacy an hour away, but doing what I need to do and getting out on time. Yeah, not only am I going to show up on time, I'm also going to get the other things that I need to do taken care of first. Show up ready. Show up having taken care of yourself first before you take care of other people. So Alexis is reading examples, but not understanding the question very well, so you don't necessarily know how to answer it. So I guess one way to think about the question, Alexis, is the other side of a commitment is typically a disciplined approach or a disciplined set of actions that demonstrate your commitment. So it's kind of discipline is a sort of a commitment and action. So if you think about the things that you are moving towards, what are the ways that you need to kind of organize your day, organize your actions in order to effectively demonstrate that commitment? Show up on time, work, leave on time. That's the lesson you need to hear and learn. Enough is enough, right? So Basement says, my discipline is music theory. With every new bit of information I learn, I push myself to be the best musician I can be. So committing to deepening your understanding of music theory so that you can more effectively create. That's smart. Enter a nickname and Brooklyn. Welcome in. It's good to have you here this morning. So SO is digging deeply into the sort of creative career path. My discipline is to responsibly create tools for others from a place of empathy, staying with myself and living by my values. Staying with myself and living by my values. All right. Recognizing the difference between wants and needs, being self-compassionate through the lows. Okay. Okay. Good morning, Emmy. I know you are just coming to life. So thank you for popping through here. In lieu of hitting snooze, you chose to come in here to hear about discipline. Speaking of, all right. So your last one, Alberto says, my last prompt, bro, remaining physically fit after the Army. I work out 4 days, 2 of those days are runs. Yeah. When you leave that structure, sometimes it's hard to keep it together. But having knowing that you need the energy, taking care of your body so that you can have the energy to get out there and do all the other things that, you're trying to accomplish and that you're moving towards in the world. So that's a wise choice. All right. So Alexa says, I need to organize my job search more effectively and not allow myself to get distracted by the rabbit hole of cute bunny videos on YouTube. So the discipline of having a intentional and organized approach and not fall victim to distractions. So sometimes we need a little bit of support in our disciplines. Sometimes we need to use tools to kind of block, the distractions. There's tools, browser extensions that make certain sites unavailable to you during a time where you're intending to do something more focused. If we need support to install a discipline, some accountability can help sometimes when we're trying to install and deepen a discipline in a particular area. Take advantage of whatever you need to make that easier. We don't need to be heroes out here, If there's a tool that's available, use it. Ain't no shame. All right, let's see what else we have here. All right. Here we go. We are ready to go to the next prompt. If you are ready to go with us, go ahead and drop us a heart in the chat and we can get into that. So we kind of spoke generally about some of the things that that are entailed in the disciplines that we need. In this prompt, this follow-on prompt might drive the point home a little bit more, make it a little bit more specific and actionable for you. It's just a little fill in the blank. Blank is difficult, but worth doing. Blank is difficult, but worth doing. That is the prompt. Fill in the blank. Feel or feel, whichever way you want to do it. Acknowledging that there might be some difficult parts of the journey There's some things that you might have to do that are outside of your comfort zone, but you know that it's worth it, right? The only reason that you know that it's worth it is because you have some sense of, the direction that you're heading in. So you recognize the difficult things, you understand where it is that you're trying to go. So you're willing to include those difficult things because you know that they are part of the price that you are paying. So Dakota Dolbin is here. Welcome in. And Zero, welcome in and welcome to Spoon. It looks like you're new. If you got questions, let us know. If you need some help navigating your experience here, we're more than happy to give you a few pointers. So Zero says, admitting you need help. Admitting you need help is difficult but worth doing. Admitting you need help is difficult but worth doing. That is so true. I think a lot of us have problems with that, and one of the reasons why maybe we don't embrace a larger vision because we forget the fact that we don't have to do it by ourselves. You know, the struggle or the challenges that we were willing to take on, when you kind of rest in the understanding that it's not something that you have to deal with alone, that can make a huge difference. So I can get some help. I don't necessarily feel up to this. Maybe I'm dealing with something. Let me get some help with that. Bomb is here. Welcome in. It's good to see you. Thank you for being here. So Noble Ancient says, carving out time to structure and build games is difficult, but well worth it when I can. Yeah, carving out time, all carving out time is making decisions, right? That's all you can do, is make decisions. Make incisions, cut things out. So SOK says, giving up weed, but at least I know it's a plan B that works in case plan A doesn't. Giving up weed is difficult but worth doing. If you feel like it's not a net positive in your experience, sometimes you got to give it up. Letting go of things in general can be a little tricky, whether they are healthy or not as healthy. Bomb says, I'd say giving up cigarettes, but to me that ain't worth doing. I don't know. You won't look as cool. You won't be able to, maybe you won't be able to look cool standing outside leaning on a pole saying, what's up? You know? I don't know. Isn't that the reason to smoke? Just to look cool? So Alexa says, having patience and perseverance is difficult but worth doing. Having patience and perseverance is difficult. Saying perseverance is difficult but worth doing. All right. So Miss says, so depression sucks. So I'll say working because getting started is hard, but it is always about the payoff. Power concedes nothing without demand, and work is always the demand for liberation. So I'm thinking you might have meant oppression instead of depression. I don't know, maybe oppression sucks. Since we're talking about liberation, maybe it's oppression sucks. Depression sucks too. Both of them. Oh, both of them. Sigma Ronan is here. Thank you for joining us. It's nice to have you here this morning. All right, here we go. Difficult, but worth it. Templar King says, delayed gratification is worth the wait compared to the short-term instant gratification dopamine high that goes away. Yeah, being willing to wait for a deeper, more meaningful sense of gratification rather than, the short-term hits of pleasure or, the little buzz that you get, understanding that there are deeper levels of fulfillment, enjoyment that are available if you're willing to wait. So Corey Cho says, makeup, because my Korean culture uses a lot. Makeup is difficult to do, but worth it to express yourself in the ways that you choose to present yourself and represent your culture in a way that feels authentic and meaningful to you. It's a lot of work to beat this face. It's a lot of work to beat this face like this, but I gotta represent, baby. Gotta represent for my peoples. Corey Cho says, let me just get up and beat my face real quick. All right, difficult but worth doing. We're having a conversation. This is sort of like a follow-on to the conversation about discipline. Let's go to the next prompt if we're ready. Go ahead and drop me a heart in the chat. You know how we do. Oh, it looks like we're still working on this one, so let's give it a second. So Sigma Ronan says, I'm working 3 jobs, none pay by the hour, but when I blow, it will be worth it. So all the work, all the effort that you're putting in right now, you understand that you're building towards something significant. I do invite you to consider the possibility that the gratification doesn't have to be delayed in terms of a sense of, you don't have to put all of it off. There is a way in which while you are in the process, you can enjoy it. You can find meaning in it. And it, let's not knock the struggle, like the way we feel when we are stretching. That's an underrated feeling when we're operating at capacity or near capacity. When you're really going for it, it feels different. All right, Sabrina Joy, thank you so much for your time and attention here. All right. I think we might have time for maybe one more prompt before we get ready to close things down. So let me know. I think we saw a couple hearts. So let's go ahead and get into that. So it is inevitable that anytime you are moving towards something, there's going to be some blocks, right? No matter how committed you are, no matter how disciplined you are in your approach, there's going to be obstacles that come up. And there's a story that can start kind of brewing in your mind about what that obstacle means. You know, sometimes it'll bring up an insecurity or raise some doubts and make you question the incision that you made, right? Question the incision. I made this cut and now I got to deal with it. So when you hit those blocks, when you reach, when you have those challenges, what are some things that you tell yourself? What are some of the things that you say to yourself when you find yourself at, a difficulty, a block? How do we work through that? I've opened up the request box. And I guess, you can include things that some of the self-talk that you habitually engage in. You can also think about some ways that maybe you can improve that. Like, what are some things that you might say to yourself to make it possible or more likely for you to take the next step? Alexa says, I'm unkind to myself when I hit creative blocks, so I normally beat myself up. Yeah. Again, a lot of times we can mount a challenge to the negative things that we tend to say to ourselves by saying something else that's also true. And also being sure that we are not using extreme language, black and white language, in describing the situation. Words like always and never, because always and never are rarely true. There are few things that are that definitive. So you can start chipping away at that language by stripping the black and white nature out of it. Just make a little crack in the armor. And if you hear, so one of the best ways to challenge negative thinking is challenging it out loud, right? You say, you hear a negative thought kind of running through your mind, and then you say something out loud to challenge it that's also true. You don't have to bend the truth. You don't have to front, these are all true things that you can say to yourself to counteract that negative voice. And saying it out loud and calling your name when you do, that really drives it home. So I chose Nobles first, my bad. Noble Ancient says, my creative floodgates have closed for now and I need to find another project to work on while I think about where I want to go with this one. That's a healthy attitude. I do think that we can reach a point when we are engaged in a specific task that we need a break. We need some time for the processing to kind of work in the background. I think the most important part of that phrase, of that statement that you say to yourself, is the phrase for now. For now. Because you recognize that this is just a temporary situation. So for now, I'm going to step back, allow it to run in the background, and I'm going to still stay engaged in my craft in the meantime. That's a very healthy thing to say to yourself. For now. Is that how I said it, miss? That's not how I said it. So, Sigma Ronan says, don't get mad or emotional. Step back, breathe, assess, and adjust. Let it ride and see what happens. Yeah, that's a healthy thing to say. Kind of reconnecting in the present with your breath, and like, okay, all right, okay, let's see here. Calm down. Let's just kind of see where this goes. We can ride this out. That's helpful. That's helpful language. Those are helpful things to say to yourself. So Miss says, I remind myself that my biggest flaw is being human. This too shall pass. And then I cry and accept the pain as strength. That's my loop. It's like, I know I have limitations. I guess being human is your greatest gift and your biggest flaw, or your biggest flaw and your greatest gift. I think that might be a better way to say that. Recognizing that it's going to pass. Yeah. So, Tim says, I just always say, I'm okay. I'm okay. I think the valuable thing about that I am okay is that it acknowledges, saying that I am okay when you hit a block, it acknowledges the distinction between who you are and what you do, right? You are not your work. You are not what you are creating. And however that is going for you at the moment, it's not a commentary on your value as a person. So saying I'm okay acknowledges that I am not this thing that's blocked right now. I am me, and this is that thing. We are separate. I'm still okay. And that's a healthy thing to acknowledge, especially when you're in the middle of a challenging situation, knowing that it doesn't define you. So that's beautiful. So even if you don't believe it, still say it out loud. I think, interestingly, the truth doesn't require your consent or agreement. If you speak the truth, whether you believe it or not, it's still true. So say it and get with it, you dig? Hey June, welcome in. It's nice to have you here. You're catching the last 10 minutes or so of the stream. We're talking about the things that we say to ourselves, as it will inevitably happen. If we are pursuing a path, we are on a journey, there's going to be some blocks, and we have to figure out how to navigate our psychology, navigate our emotional state, so that we can deal with those blocks and not have them derail us from the vision, derail us from the discipline, derail us from the commitment that we have made. And the language that we use, the way that we speak to ourselves, is the most powerful tool we have at our disposal to help us navigate that. So Rod the Poet, welcome in. It's good to see you this morning. We are wrapping things up. Once again, I really appreciate everyone for their time and attention to this conversation. Before we wrap things up, I want to remind everyone that this is a live experience. If you're listening to the playback, this is a live experience. And if you would like to join this live experience, you can check your show notes. If you're listening on Apple Podcast or Spotify or wherever you might be hearing this experience, if you want to join us live and join the conversation live, we'd love to have you here. You can find details on how to do that in your show notes. I want to once again thanking everyone for all of your insights that you've shared. Tim says, I slept through most of this and answered in my dreams. Hey, that's how it be sometimes. A lot of people experience this that way. If you slept, you probably needed the rest. All right. So if you would like to continue answering, if you just got in and you want to say more, please feel free to do so. With any of the prompts that we've covered so far today, the conversation is open at this point. We're getting ready to say goodbye to our listeners and viewers on our video platforms. We're going to wrap things up. For now. And we're just going to hang out in the VIP for the last 10 minutes or so. So hoping you had a great day, and we'll see you next time.